Okay, we begin the Gemara today on the bottom of Daf Kuf Lamed Tesam with Beis, the last line. Very last line, few words. The Noisnim Beitza b'misnenes. It says in the Mishnah when you are going to take mustard seeds, and you sift it, and you have the seeds there. So now, in order to color these mustard seeds yellow, what is the food coloring that they use then? They took an egg, they put it into the sifter, and the yolk of the egg came through, the white stays on the top, and the yolk of the egg comes through, and it colors it yellow. So the Mishnah said that there's no issue, it doesn't look like beider, and you're allowed to do this on Shabbos. Tani Yaakov Karcha explained, what's the reason why this is not compared to beider? Because this is only being done to add a color. So therefore it doesn't look like beider at all. So as Rashi explains, it's not beider because really the egg yolk that comes down and the egg white that remains above, they're both eichel. The concept of beider is only when you have an eichel, food, and a pseila, something that's undesired. So they're both part of the same thing. It's part of the same egg and they're both eichel. So in that sense there is no beider here at all. Elamai, it looks like beider because it's coming through a sifter. It doesn't look like beider because all the person is doing is he's making some food coloring. Gemara Itma. We learned another thing about mustard seeds. So what do they do with mustard seeds? Chardal shaloshay me'erev Shabbos. They take the mustard seeds and then they knead it together with whatever kind of liquid that they made it into a paste. So this was already prepared before Shabbos. L'machar, so tomorrow on Shabbos, Omar Rav, so Rav says, Memachoi bekeli. If you want to add some water to dissolve it, so you can add water and you can mix it with a keli. Avaloi biyad, but you can't mix it by hand. So apparently, Rav holds that when you mix it with a keli, that's a shinu. That's the unusual way. When you mix it by hand, with your hands, you can knead it and mix it better. So that's something which is the usual way. So therefore, on Shabbos, even though this is not an issue of kneading, but nevertheless, you should do it with a shinu. Amalei Shmuel. So Shmuel says to Rav, biyad. You're saying that you could. You can't do it by hand on Shabbos. You should do it with a keli on Shabbos. Otu kol yoyim memachole biyad. This is the way it's done on a regular day, that you knead it by hand and dissolve it by hand. If you're preparing food and you're doing it by hand, that's food for a donkey. That's not the usual way. But derech klal, when you prepare food, so you do it with a keli. It's not considered to be a shinu doing it with a keli. So Shmuel says the opposite. Ela ma Shmuel memachoi biyad. You should dissolve it by hand. Do not dissolve it. Do not mix it with a utensil. The shini is to do it by hand. Zok to Gemara Itmer. Rabbi Elazar said, Echad zeh ve'echad zeh aser. To dissolve this mustard paste, either way, whether you're dissolving it and mixing it by hand, or you're dissolving it and mixing it by a keli, either way it's aser. Rabbi Yochanan says, Echad zeh ve'echad zeh mutter. Whether you're doing it by hand, whether you're doing it with a keli, either way it's permitted. It's just not really like kneading. It's not at all daimet to kneading a dough, and therefore either way it's allowed. Abaye and Rava both said, Ein halacha ke Rabbi Yochanan. We don't paskin like Rabbi Yochanan that said that it's allowed. Now the Gemara says what happened over here regarding these opinions. They changed their opinions. Kom Rabbi Yochanan b'shitasi de Rabbi Elazar. Rabbi Yochanan changed his opinion and he paskined like Rabbi Elazar that said that it's always going to be forbidden. And Kom Rabbi Elazar b'shitasi de Shmuel. And Rabbi Elazar took the shitta of Shmuel that said that by hand it's allowed and with a keli it's not allowed. And now, after Rabbi Yochanan changed his opinion, Abaye v'Rava d'Amri Tarvayu halacha Rabbi Yochanan. So Abaye and Rava both said that the halacha is like Rabbi Yochanan, which is stringent and says that you're not allowed to mix it whether by hand, whether with a keli on Shabbos. Gemara brings a little story that this happened. Imei de Abaye, the mother of Abaye, or actually the caretaker of Abaye, of Delay, she prepared for him this chardal, and on Shabbos she dissolved it and she mixed it. He didn't want to eat it because Abaye follows his opinion that you're not allowed to prepare this whether by hand, whether with a keli on Shabbos. The bisu de Zeira, the wife of Zeira. We had a similar story to this before. Of the lady Rav Chia bar Ashi, she prepared Rav Chia bar Ashi this paste, this mixture as well. And he didn't want to eat it on Shabbos. Amalei, so Zeira's wife said, L'Rabach, your teacher, in other words, her husband Zeira, Avidile, I prepare it for him v'achal, and he eats it. And you don't eat it. So we see over here the difference of opinion between the Amirayim, whether this is allowed or not. Rava bar Shva said, Ravina, I was in front of Ravina. Ubachashile b'shufse de tuma v'achal. And he was mixing cloves of garlic. He mixed in pieces of garlic, the center of a garlic, inside the mustard, and he ate it. He mixed it on Shabbos, and he ate it. Mazutra said, "Les hilchase kachol hani shmaitese." We just brought a bunch of opinions about this matter, about mixing this paste on Shabbos, and he says, we don't paskin like any of this. Ella rather, ki had itmer, we paskin like the following statement, chardal shaloshay me'erev Shabbos. This chardal paste that was prepared from before Shabbos, lemachar, on Shabbos, memachai, he can dissolve it and mix it, bein biyad, bein bekeli, whether by hand, whether with a keli. V'noisen l'toiche dvash, you could add honey to the ingredients. V'lo yitroif, you shouldn't beat it very strongly. Ela ma'arif, you can mix it, that's allowed. Shachalayim, how about shachalayim? What's shachalayim? It's a kind of crest, okay. Sheshachka me'erev Shabbos, which was ground before Shabbos. L'machar noisen l'toichen shemen. On Shabbos, you're allowed to add oil to this crushed cress. V'chaymitz, and you could also add vinegar. You could also put into it amita, which is mint. But you shouldn't beat it very strongly. You mix it. Shum sheriskoi, crushed garlic, me'erev Shabbos. It was already crushed from before Shabbos. L'machar, on Shabbos, pul or grisen, you could add different kinds of beans. You shouldn't crush it, or you shouldn't mix it very strongly. Beat it, you can mix it. You could also add some mint to it as well. This mixture, making this mixture on Shabbos is not an issue. Maya, mito, what is this amita that we mentioned here? Ninya, which is mint. Omer Abaye, so Abaye says, Shma mina, from here we see, Hai ninya, this mint, ma'alya letachli, is very good to be mixed with cress. Okay, good to know. Zakta Gemara, we learned in the Mishnah about a numlin, whether you're allowed to make a numlin on Shabbos. V'oisin a numlin b'Shabbos. Tan Rabbana, we learned in a Braisa. Oisin a numlin b'Shabbos, you can make a numlin b'Shabbos, which is a kind of drink, as the Gemara will say soon. Apparently this drink is a little bit of a extraneous work to make it, to prepare it, and therefore there's a discussion if you should make it on Shabbos, and even if you should, how much of it you should make on Shabbos. You shouldn't make too much of it. So the Braisa here says you can make a numlin on Shabbos, ve'ein oisin aluntis, but you don't make aluntis. So the Gemara now explains, ve'ezi anumlin, ve'ezi aluntis. What's a numlin and what's aluntis? It's two different kinds of drinks. A numlin, the ingredients is yayin, udvash, upilpulin. It's wine, honey, and pepper. Aluntis is yayin yashon, old wine, mayim tzlulin, clear water, va'farsamin, and balsam. The Gemara explains the reason why you don't make aluntis on Shabbos, because aluntis is not a drink that regular healthy people drink. What is it made for? The people make this lebei masusa when you come out of a bathhouse and you were there for a while, and especially the way we once learned regarding the bathhouses then, they were there and it's a sauna and it's hot and you come out and you're very fatigued from the bathhouse, so they would drink this lemaker to cool themselves off. So this is something that you don't make on Shabbos, it's not made to drink for regular people. Amar Rav Yosef said, Zimna chada alis basad mar ikva lebei bani. I once followed mar ukve into the bathhouse. Kinofki, when I came out of the bathhouse, asoi, mar ukve came to me and ashkin, he gave me to drink chamra. Chamra means wine, but really it means this. I mean, the Marshal actually takes out this word chamra. He gave him to drink this drink of aluntis, which was it's wine, water, and balsam. Chat kasa, he gave me 1 cup. The chashi, and I felt the chill from this drink. Mibinisa de rashi, from the hairs in my head. Va tufra de kari, until the nails in my toes. That's how powerful this drink was. The ashkin kasa achrine, if I would have drink 1 more cup of this, have I mistafina, I'm afraid, dilma mankalim is chusadal medasi. This would deduct from my schusim in the world to come. So there's 2 explanations to this. Rashi says, if I would have drank another cup, my body would have got so chilled, it would have been dangerous for me. And I would have needed a miracle to be saved. And when a person gets saved with a miracle, it deducts from his schar in the world to come. Another pshat on this is the opposite. That if I would have drank another cup, it would have been such a deep pleasure that it would have been mamish me'ein helam haba. This is something that happened to Rav Yosef, but we know Mar Ukva would drink this every single day. And what's the big deal to drink this aluntis every day? And for the Gemara, Shani Mar Ukva the Doshbe. His body, he would drink it every day, and his body already became accustomed to this drink, so that he didn't have that response. Rav Yosef only drank it once in a while, he had this kind of response. Zog the Mishnah. Ein Shayden es a hiltis bepaishin. You're not allowed to take hiltis and soak it in warm water. Okay, now what's hiltis? If you could tell me the word of hiltis over there, appreciate
gum
it.
Resin.
Huh?
Gum resin.
No, but it's not gum resin. If you look inside, no, why are you looking at the bottom? Look inside. He brings over there the word for hiltis. Asafdira?
Asafitida.
Something like that. Okay, it's some kind of a spice that's taken. It's a gum. It's a resin that comes from plants that's used whatever as a kalpanim. So this hiltis. So it was dissolved in warm water, so you're not allowed to dissolve this in warm water on Shabbos. Aval noisen l'techa chaimitz. It could be used to put into as an ingredient into vinegar. Okay, it's one halacha. Another halacha, ve'ein shaylin es karshinin. Karshinin are vetches, so this is also from a kind of plant, it's a kind of bean. And what they would do is, in order to separate the psilas from the oichel, so they would put it into water, and then the psilas would float up in the water, and it would separate them. So you're not allowed to do that on Shabbos because it's baited. V'loi shafen noisan, you're not allowed to separate it by rubbing it in your hand. Avol noisan lo techa kivra, you could just place it into a sifter, or lo techa kalkala, or into a basket, and if on its own it gets separated without you sifting it, on its own it gets separated, it's okay. You're not allowed to sift the teven, the straw, in a sifter. And also don't place it in a high place that's exposed to the wind, in order for the wind to blow away the mites, which is the pieces of the chaff that, in order for it to get blown off. Because again, that's baited. A person can take the straw from a sifter and pour it into avis, which is the bowl that the animal eats from, and if in the process automatically the chaff gets separated, the psilas get separated from the oichel, so if it happens on its own, that's okay. So here in this Mishnah we see the halacha that when baited happens on its own and you didn't intend for it b'chlal, so then it's allowed. This is like the opinion of Rab Shimon that it's ein miskaven b'chlal, so therefore it's allowed. Going back to the first case of the Mishnah, it says you shouldn't soak this hiltis, or you shouldn't dissolve it in warm water. So the question was asked, Shara Mai. If you did put it into the warm water, what's the issue? What's the halacha? Tirgim Rav Ada. So Rav Ada in the Nishah said, Kamed Rav Yosef, in front of Rav Yosef, Shara, if you put it into the hot water, if you soaked it in hot water, chayav chatas. This is a chayav chatas min atayra. Amalei Abaye, so Abaye asked him, what's the chayav chatas? Ela meyato shara umtza b'maya. If a person takes a piece of raw meat and he puts it into warm water, hachanami de mechayev, he would be chayav chatas. What kind of a chatas would he be chayav? It's not hot enough to cook it. There's nothing there's no malachim and atayra that was done over here. Elomar Abaye, so Abaye said it's midrabanan. This is only not allowed midrabanan. Shelo yaseh kederech shehu oiseh b'chayil. You shouldn't do this the way it's done on the weekday. This is one of the things that Chachamim asked because of uvdu d'chayil. And the way Mefarshim explain it is, many times this hiltis is placed into this warm water to be used as a sort of a medication, or as some kind of medication of a sort. And therefore, this is uvdu d'chayil, that they didn't want you to do it on Shabbos. So in the Mishnah it was speaking about not soaking it, not placing it into warm water. Are you allowed to soak this hiltis in cold water? Amalei, so Rabbi Yanai answered, Aser, it's not allowed. So Rabbi Yochanan asked him, but in our Mishnah it clearly says that you're not allowed to soak it in warm water. And so it's mashma that if it's in cold water, then it's allowed. So the Gemara answers, Amalei, Rabbi Yanai tells Rabbi Yochanan, Im Kain, if this is your question, and you think that I understand the Mishnah the way you do, and not more, ma ben livelach, what's the difference between me and you? I understand the Mishnah just as much as you think? I understand much more, and I'll tell you what the pshat is. Masnisin yichidahi. This Mishnah is a shitta of a yachid. We don't pass like this Mishnah. Tanya, because we learned in the Braisa, ein sheiren es a hiltis, you're not allowed to soak the hiltis, loy bechamen v'loy betzeinen, not in warm water and not in cold water either. And Rabbi Yosi Rabbi Yosi is the one that says that only in warm water is it not allowed, but betzainin mutter. But in cold water it's allowed. So Rabbi Yana is telling him there's an opinion in a Braisa where you clearly see that our Mishnah is only Rabbi Yosi, and we don't pass him like Rabbi Yosi. Now the Gemara explains Lamai of delay. What is this hiltis used for? Liyukra deliba. It's used for a person that has a heavy heart. So even though this hiltis is something that could be used also to drink stamazai, people drink it, but it's also very beneficial for a person that has, his heart feels heavy. Rav Acha bar Yosef, chosh b'yukra deliba. Rav Acha bar Yosef felt a heaviness in his heart. So Asala Kameda Marukve, he came to Marukve on Malay and he told him, Zil, Shasi, go and drink Tlosa Tikli Hiltise, 3 weights of 3 shkolim, the weight of 3 shkolim of this Hiltise. This potion, whatever it is, this drink, betlasa yoyma, 3 days, one after another. Azul, so he went. Ishti chamshe b'Shabbos. The first day he had it was on Thursday. Umayli Shabbos, and then on Erev Shabbos on Friday. Now l'tzafre, it came Shabbos. Azul shal b'midrasha. He came and asked a question in the Bismedrish whether he could drink this on Shabbos or not. That's what it seems like he was asking. Amrulei, so they answered him, Tana de Ravada. We learned by Ravada, Amrulei, Tana de Ravada, Shoysa Odam Kavay Kavayim, you can drink one of these measurements of this hiltis, and it's not a problem. You're allowed to drink this on Shabbos. Because this is a kind of drink that even people that are not sick drink as well. Amalahu, so he responded and said, my question wasn't about whether you're allowed to drink it or not. I know you're allowed to drink this on Shabbos. My question was, am I allowed to prepare it? Am I allowed to soak it in the water to prepare it? That was the whole discussion in the Mishnah, that it's a problem of preparing it. So Amalu Rav Chia bar Avin. Rav Chia bar Avin said, Bididi hava ovda. I had the same story and I had the same question. Va'asoi she'iltil Rav Ada bar Ava. And I came and I asked this question to Rav Ada bar Ava, and he didn't know the answer. So I came and I asked this question to Rav Huna, and he said, Rav. This is what Rav said. You can soak it in cold water, and then if you want it to heat up, you can place it in the sun. Okay, so Rav gave him a heter to do it in cold water. Now what did we have before? It was a machlokes, the Tana Kama and Rabbi Yosi in the Braisa, whether it's allowed to be done in the cold water. And we said that our Stam Mishnah follows the opinion that says, like Rabbi Yosi, that it's only one opinion that it could be done in cold water. But the Tana Kama holds it can't be done not in cold water and not in hot water. So the Gemara inquires, Keman the Shari? Is Rav giving this heter because he follows the opinion of Rabbi Yosi that says it's allowed, but according to the Tana Kama it wouldn't be allowed? So the Gemara answers, no. Afilu lemanda asar, even according to the Tana Kama that said that you're not allowed to soak it even in cold water, Hanimili, when is that relevant? When is that true? If he's not drinking from it yet on Thursday, Friday, and then Shabbos. Because he drank from it on Thursday and then on Friday, and now he needs it on Shabbos. That's part of his refuah that he was told for the heaviness that he feels in his heart. If he's not going to drink it today on Shabbos, mistaken, it could be dangerous for him. So that's why Rav gave him the heter to do it in cold water. So from this Gemara is one of the sources or the basis for a person that's taking a medication, and he has the medication that he has to take for 10 days. So even though usually you don't take a medication, Stamazay and Shabbos, but if you have the medication you have to take for a certain amount of time, and you were taking it from before, and if you're going to skip Shabbos, it ruins the whole thing, so you're allowed to take it on Shabbos as well. Zok to Gemara, another story that happened with Rav Acha bar Yosef. Mistamech va'azul Rav Acha bar Yosef. Rav Acha bar Yosef was leaning and he was walking. Who was he leaning on? Akasvid Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak. He was leaning on the shoulders of Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak bar Achse, which was the son of his daughter, his nephew. So Amalei, Rav Acha bar Yosef tells Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak, Kimatina lebei Rav Safra, when we arrived to Rav Safra's house, Ailina, bring me inside. I want to go inside to Rav Safra's house. Kimatu, when they arrived there, Aile, he brought him inside. And he waited outside. He went inside. Rav Acha bar Yosef went inside to Rav Safra. And Boy Minei, he asked them the following question. This is a different topic. Mao lechusei kisnita b'Shabbata. Are you allowed to take a shirt, for example, a linen shirt that's stiff, and you want to rub it in order to soften it to be able to wear it. Are you allowed to do that on Shabbos? What's the question? Is the person just trying to soften the fabric to be able to wear it? And if that's what he's trying to do, it's not a problem. It's after it was laundered, it becomes a little bit hard, and he just wants to soften it to wear it, and it's not an issue. V'shaper dami, it's allowed. When a person does that, what he's really having in mind is the whiteness of the garment becomes sharper, the color becomes sharper when he rubs it, and therefore that's part of the laundering process, and therefore it's not allowed, and it's awesome. Amalei, Rav Safra answered him, it's just softening it to make it comfortable to wear, v'shaper dami, and it's okay, it's allowed. This is what Rav Safra answered Rav Acha bar Yosef. Kinofik, when Rav Acha bar Yosef came out, also, he came back to Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak, Amalei, my boy mar minei. What did you ask him? Amalei boy minei. I asked Rav Safra, are you allowed to soften the fabric of the linen garment in Shabbos? V'amali, and he answered me, shaper dami. He told me it's allowed. Okay, so Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak asked him, why don't you ask the same question about a handkerchief, whether you're allowed to soften a handkerchief for this purpose? So Rav Acha bar Yosef said, Sudra loikami boyli. Regarding a Sudra, I don't have a question. The boy made Rav Huna, because this I already asked Rav Huna, upashatli, and he answered me that it's not allowed. By a Sudra, when you want to soften it over there, a Sudra is something where a person is doing it for the sparkle of the color, of the whiteness of it, and that's not allowed. So apparently, a Sudra is something that a person wears in a place, like by his neck, or in a place where it's more exposed and he wants the color to shine. A shirt, which is covered by a garment that's by another coat over it, that's something a person that doesn't matter to him so much to shine. So why can't you compare the answer that you got from Rav Huna regarding the handkerchief to the shirt, for example? Amalei, so he answers him, no, they're not the same thing. Over there, when it comes to the handkerchief and a person is softening it over there, it looks like he wants to have the color of it, that it should shine. When it comes to the shirt, a linen shirt over here, the person is not doing it for the color, he's just doing it for comfort, that should be soft, and therefore there's no problem on Shabbos. Amar Rav Chisda said, Hi Kisnisa, this linen garment, so the way they would hang it, on Mulligat Zeiten, they didn't have hangers, so how would they hang it if they would want to, dry it or hang it? They would hang it on a reed. Now this reed itself is really just a piece of wood and it's muktzah. So how do you remove this linen garment from this reed on Shabbos? You're not allowed to touch the reed, which is muktzah. So the Gemara says, Mishlafu lidida mikanya. You have to remove the shirt or the linen garment from the reed. Shari, that's allowed. So you don't move the reed itself, but you just remove the shirt from it. But kanya mimena, if you want to remove the reed from the sleeves of the shirt, and that's what you're touching, and that's what you're removing, also, that's not allowed. Because this reed is totally muktzah. It's not a keli. It's going to be used for firewood, so you're not allowed to remove the hanger in this case, so to speak, but you have to remove the shirt.
It's nothing to do with barter.
No. It's about muktzah. Amar Rava said, Ve'im kli kivoihu, if this reed that you're using to hang the shirt on it, it's a keli that's used as a weaver's rod, so then it is a keli. It's taka keli shemalachta le'isr, but in order to be able to remove the shirt, we learned already, even a keli shemalachta le'isr, l'tzarech gufi, l'tzarech mekayma, you're allowed to move it. Mutter, then it would be allowed. Amar Rav Chisda said, Hai kishsa de yarke, a pile of herbs. If the behemoths can eat it, so then shut a little tule. It's not muktzah. Anything that is for human consumption or consumption for an animal is not muktzah on Shabbos. But otherwise, if it's not fit for any of this, then also. If even an animal can't eat from it, then it's also to move it on Shabbos. When you have a piece of meat that's hanging on a rope and it's hung in order to dry the meat, and then when you have this dry meat, you eat it raw, shari little tuli. This is allowed to be moved on Shabbos because it's the derech of the people to eat this raw meat. But the kavri, if you have fish that's hanging on a rope to dry the fish, also, that's not allowed because it's not the derech of the people to eat this raw, and therefore it's muktzah. Amar Rav Ketina said, now this is all kinds of different interesting things that the Gemara is going to bring up here. It's definitely a lot of very big Seidus HaTorah and all of these things. Some of them seem to be very simple and it's very interesting, but definitely great Seidus HaTorah in this, like the Alter Rebbe says, when you get to Agadis and Shas, that Reiv Seidus HaTorah Gnuzimba. So Rav Ketina said, a person that stands in the middle of a bed. We're talking over here about a bed that where a couple sleeps. It's like he's standing in the middle of the stomach of a woman. As Rashi says, it brings to hirur, it brings to not pure thoughts. V'lav milsi, but the Gemara concludes it's not necessarily so. Yeah. Rav Chisda said, Bar Beirav, a student, a yeshiva student, the Zavin Yarke that's buying vegetables. So here's good advice for buying vegetables. So Lisbon Aricha, buy the bundles of vegetables that are a bit longer, so you'll get a little bit more for your money. Kisha ki kisha, all of the bundles are the same sizes. But for urche memela, if one bundle, if the length of the vegetables is a little bit more, so then automatically you're going to get a little bit more for the money you're paying. Similar thing, V'amar Rav Chisda said, Bar Beirav the Zavin Kanya. Okay, right. It's sold by bundles, but sometimes it's a bit longer. Bar Beirav said, again, Bar Beirav the Zavin Kanya, a Bar Beirav, a yeshiva student that's buying Kanya, he's buying reeds. So Lisbon Ariche, you should buy one that is a bit longer because tuna ki tuna, all of the bundles are basically the same size. But v'urche memela, if it's a bit longer, so then automatically you get more for your money. Rav Chisda said something else. Bar Beirav, the loy nefisha leirifte, if he doesn't have a lot of bread to eat, loy lechol yarke, so he should not eat vegetables. Why? Mishum de gorer, because it's something that entices the person, it makes him hungry, and you're not going to have what to eat. You're going to be very hungry. Rav Chisda said, Ano loy ba'ani yusi achle yarke, not when I was poor that I eat vegetables, v'loy ba'asirusi achle yarke, and not when I was rich that I eat vegetables. Why not? Ba'ani yusi, when I was poor I didn't eat vegetables, mishum de gorer, because this is something that's going to entice make me hungry. Ba'asirusi, when I'm rich, I didn't eat vegetables, da'amine, because I said, heiche da ayel yarke, instead of putting vegetables into my stomach, leil bisr v'kavre. Instead, I could afford eating meat and fish, and that's much better to eat. Rav Chisda, don't tell that to the nutritionists today. They'll tell you have to eat a lot of vegetables either way. Sagt die Gemara weiter. Rav Chisda said, where am I over here? Bar Beirav, the loy nefisha leirifta. As a yeshiva student, he doesn't have a lot of bread. So loy liftza, he shouldn't just eat little pieces that he has. Loy liftza bitzui, he shouldn't eat little pieces. Rashi says, rather, he should wait until he has enough bread that he should be able to be satisfied, and then he'll eat a meal. Rav Chisda said another thing, Bar Beirav the loy nefisha leirifta, if he doesn't have a lot of bread and he's sitting by a meal with other people, loy liftza, he shouldn't be the one to cut the bread because he's going to cut with a very stingy eye. The Gemara here says, my time the loy avid ba'ayin yafa. He's not going to cut the bread ba'ayin yafa. We learned this in the Gemara in Brachas. When a person cuts the bread, the balabayis that cuts the bread, he's cutting for everybody, he should cut ba'ayin yafa. But over here he's going to cut with a stingy eye. Rav Chisda said regarding this, Ana, myself, may kara loy have a batzana. In the beginning, I did not want to cut the bread because I was afraid I'm not going to cut enough for everybody. Ad shadoi yadi bekulamana. I placed my hand into the basket of bread. Va'ashchibe kol tzarchi, and then I see in the basket that there's more than enough bread. So then, when I come to cut the bread, I know I have more than enough, and I can cut big slices for everybody. Rav Chisda said, "Hi man, the efshalele mechel nama." Desari, a person that can eat, and for him it's okay to eat bread that's made from barley. And instead he eats bread which is more expensive, which was made from wheat. He's being over baltashkes. Why are you using more expensive if you can eat what's cheaper? Rav Papa said, someone that could drink beer, and instead he drinks wine, which is much more expensive. He's also he can drink the beer, that's enough for him. But the Gemara says, this is not true. Baltashkes the gufa adif, the baltashkes of your own body, that if you need the wine for your own health, or you need the grain, the wheat for your own health, that's more important. The Mashal says an interesting thing. We learned before in the Gemara, Rav Papa had a brewery for beer. So Rav Papa was trying to make people drink dafke beer for his business. But the Gemara says, really, v'lav milsihi, you should drink wine if that's what you need for your health. Rav Chisda said, Bar Beirav, the Leslie, Mishcha, a bar birav. So this is something we also learned in the Gemara and Brachas. Back then, one of the ways they would wash off their hands in the end of the meal is they had some kind of an oily substance that they used that was slippery, that took off the dirt from their hands. So if you don't have that oil, nimshi maya b'maya decharitzi. You should wash your hands with water. So Rashi says when you have water that sits for a long time, so the top of the water it becomes like a little bit of an oily substance in the top of the water, and that's the water you should use to wash off your hands. Rav Chisda said, Bar birav, the zovin umtze, a bar birav that's buying meat. Lizvin unke. So what should he buy? He should buy neck meat. Why? The izbei tilsa mine bisra. The neck meat is cheap, and it has in the neck meat all different kinds of meat in it. Rashi says it has fat meat, it has lean meat, and it has tough meat. In this little meat that's there in the neck meat, that has everything in it. So that's what you should buy.
Why is barbarian?
Huh?
Why barbarian?
It's a good question. We're talking over here, I guess maybe bar birav, they don't have enough money to be able to support themselves. So these are different things of advice of what they should do. Rav Chisda said, by the way, it's not always bar birav. There was one case where it was not bar birav, and that was the case regarding eating barley bread and eating and drinking beer, because over there the svara was bal tashches. So the Marshal says because the svara was bal tashches, so it's not only bar birav. That's the issue for everybody. But the rest of the things are advices for bar birav. Rav Chisda says bar birav the zoven kisunisa. A bar birav that's buying a linen garment, Lizvin mid Nahar Abba. He should buy it from Nahar Abba. And this they have a very good quality. V'nechavra kol tlasen yaimin, he launders it, he washes it every once in 30 days. The mefatile treiser yarche. This will satisfy you, you'll be able to use this for 12 months. Treiser yarche shata 12 months of the year. Va'ano arva. I'm a guarantor that this is very good quality and you'll be able to use it for a very long period of time. My kisunisa, what does this word kisunisa mean, which is linen? Kito noe, it's a good companion. It'll be with you for a while. It's comfortable for a person. Rav Chisda said, Bar birav loy leisef atzipsa chadete, do not sit on a new mat that has reeds sticking out of it. The machal yemone, it'll ruin your garments. Right? It'll cut and ruin your garments. Rav Chisda said, Bar birav loy lishder mani lo shpize. If you're staying somewhere as a guest, do not send your garments to the hostess to wash it for you, l'chavre to wash it for you, l'chavrele delav oirachara, because it's not proper conduct to do this. Dil mechazibe midi, she'll see something, she'll see a carry in it, v'asil meganya, and then you'll become repulsive in her eyes. Amal Rav Chisda lebnate. Rav Chisda said to his daughters the following advice: to have in tzniyasen ba'ape gavraychel. You should act modestly in front of your husbands. Do not eat bread in front of your husbands. Rashi says you'll eat too much, you'll become repulsive in his eyes. Do not eat vegetables at night. Do not eat dates at night. Do not drink beer at night. All of these things are not good at night. It says whether it's a bad breath or it causes to pass air, it's not good to eat or drink these things by night. And do not relieve yourself in the same place, in the outhouse, in the same place where your husbands go. Also, again, you shouldn't be repulsive in the eyes of your husbands. And when there's a person that comes to the door, that's knocking on the door, so manu, don't use a lashon zachar to say who is it. Ella mani, use a lashon nekeva to say who is it, because your husband shouldn't think that you speak to people b'lashon zachar. And another thing he said to them, and this is talking about the relations between husband and wife. Nakit marginse b'chade yade. You should allow your husband to hold with one hand marginta, which is a mashal used to the breast of a woman. V'kura b'chade yade, and the private parts of a woman with another hand. Marginsa achviluhu, the marginsa, which is the breast, you should allow. V'kura loy achviluhu, and the private parts you should not allow. Adam mitztaren, until your husband will have pain. V'hada achviluhu, and then you should allow him. This is all giving them advice when you get to the relations with the husband. And the last thing over here is also the advice of how to be ma'ir the taiva of the husband. The last thing we learned in the Mishnah, ein shaylin es hakashin. So what was this about? That you're not allowed to cause beirer in the karshinin, so you place it into water and then the pseiles floats to the top, so this is beirer. Sagt the Gemara, Mas Nisin Deloi Ki Hai Tana. The Mishnah does not follow this opinion. The Tanya, Rabbi Elazar ben Yaakov Eimer, Rabbi Elazar ben Yaakov says, Ein mashgichim bekivra kol iker. That it doesn't matter, we don't pay attention at all when you place it into a kivra. That, what did it say in the Mishnah over there? That the Hemshcha of the Mishnah, actually. It's not going on the case of Sheil and Sakarshinin, but it said that you could place it into a kivra, you can take hay, it said, not hay. It said you could take the straw, right, and place it into a sifter, and if it does it automatically, if it sifts it automatically, it's okay. So in the Braise it said, Rabbi Elazar ben Yaakov says, no, you're not allowed to do that. You're not allowed to place it in the sifter and allow it to do it automatically. Not count for today.